you're someone who enjoys 3D platformers that have personality, heart, and a vibrant art style, then I've got something for you. Today we're going to talk about Waltz and Jam, which is an upcoming title that I luckily got a chance to do an exclusive playtest of thanks to the good folks at Lurkit and Flyway games. Now, since it's just a playtest, I of course didn't get to see the full game, only a few early sections, and not everything you see or hear will necessarily reflect the final product. But with that said, I did play this bad boy for about 6 hours, and I've got some thoughts. So let's get into it. The story of Waltz and Jam centers around Waltz, a lost ghost who, along with his spirit puppy Jam, are traveling through the afterlife on a journey that you'll hear referred to as a pilgrimage. The main objective of this journey is Waltz needs to collect 7 stamps in order to make it to a place called Uptown. Uptown is apparently an amazing place where the angels reside, but in order to get there, he has to prove himself on this journey first. Got to go through all the trials and the tribulations and all of that good stuff. But along the way, he's going to meet a colorful cast of characters, all who will play an important role in his journey. And one of the first people you meet is Lo. Now, Lo is a crow with a top hat, and you could say this is kind of Waltz's guide. He gives Waltz all of the important information that he needs and, just helps keep him on track along the way. He's also going to meet Forgo and buddies, a creature from Forgo Forest, and they're called Forgo, and he wears a top hat and a boot. And this is basically Waltz's first friend, you could say, who becomes a part of the journey as well. And the big bad that you're going to have to deal with, at least in the first part of the game, is this evil, devious bird named Lav, who's out here doing some wild stuff behind the scenes. And based off of what I played and just the little bit I got to experience, the overall, I would say, tone of Waltz and Jam is pretty lighthearted. So don't come in here expecting some overly serious narrative. This definitely has that Saturday morning cartoony kind of feel when it comes to the vibe and the humor of the game. But getting to know, the locals and everybody is a part of the adventure. So, some of the people you talk to will just offer just idle chatter. Others might trigger optional side quests, like the poor little avocado guy who got his head separated from his body, and he needs you to put him back together. And you're also going to meet characters who can help improve your weapons, like Geppetto. You meet this little demon boat who helps make traveling easier between certain waypoints. You got to make like a contract with him, so that's the thing. And I was honestly surprised at the amount of like terminology and lore that Waltz and Jam had. And if you ever get confused by it, by some of the terms you're going to hear, like uptown, downtown, I think like haloed being, and just some other terms and places that they'll mention. There is a records menu where you can get backstory and explanations for some of the more important terms that you're going to hear throughout the game. So glad that they put that there. And, even in just a little bit that I played of Waltz and Jam, the world to me feels full and everything has its place and its purpose. And these areas are honestly a lot bigger than I thought they would be as well. And I like just their design. I like how they're crafted. I like the color palettes that they chose. It's a very, it's a colorful world, and it's full of character, and I really enjoy that about it. And if they continue to build on, this foundation that they've laid for, just this first part of the game, that I think we could be in for something really good. Now, none of this would matter if the gameplay wasn't worth it. So let's talk about the gameplay. As I mentioned earlier, Waltz and Jam is a 3D platformer akin to something like a Mario game, so it's going to involve combat, platforming, exploration, and some good old puzzle solving. Now, the combat in Waltz and Jam is pretty simple, but it works for the kind of game it is. You start off with this toy sword, that's your main weapon, and that has a standard 3-hit combo that you can do. Eventually, you get this really cool boxing glove that has this spring on it, and you can use that to punch enemies and have them flying halfway across the screen. They can collide with each other for more damage, which I thought was pretty dope. And you can also use the boxing glove to hit these mushrooms that you'll need to jump on and traverse to get you to other areas and heights that you wouldn't normally be able to reach. The puzzles in Waltz and Jam, nothing too overly complicated. A lot of them are environmental based puzzles, so they'll involve things like move a block here, pull a lever here. Early in the beginning, there are a lot of puzzles around this little magical fruit that you had to feed to these stones to open up a door that you couldn't get through, so you have to safely guide the fruit back to the stone, and then it'll open up a pathway for you or something like that. You also use Jam to help you out a lot. Jam can wrap himself around ledges to pull you up. So you can, continue, going vertical, going upward. He can also wrap himself around bombs, which is pretty cool. You'll be doing a lot of that in the restaurant area where you get to deal with Lav, who's kind of the evil big bad, at least in the playtest, one of the main villains you'll be going up against. But there are a lot of areas in that restaurant where there's like this purple gooey substance, and you'll have to use jam to like blow up the purple goo so that you can clear a path or climb up to somewhere that you couldn't get to. But I really liked the restaurant. That area was really fun to just run around. There's a lot of levers to pull, moving conveyor belts, just in there, just causing chaos. And I like that just exploration in this game is rewarded. It's not just you going from point A to point B. There are little side things to do in between. For example, sticking with the restaurant, there's this guy you run into who wants you to get these coupons so that he can get some more soup. And if you give him the coupons, he'll give you an item. And they're just, you're always rewarded for exploring and doing the extra things, whether that be finding little side items. There are these holy moly stones that you can find. You only have a certain number of slots, but basically if you equip a holy moly stone, it always comes with some kind of like special perk. So for example, there's one that gives you an extra heart for health. There's another one that I believe functions like a magnet so that you can pull items in from further away. So your exploration is always going to be rewarded. So you're encouraged to do the little in between things. You're always going to get something for it. I think they just do a good job of just making it fun to do. It doesn't feel like extra tasks that you're kind of like, I don't feel like doing this. Like a lot of the stuff you're going to hit along the way anyway, so you just might as well just do it and get it over with and be rewarded for it. Also enjoyed the boss fights. I think the boss fights in here were pretty solid. They provide like just enough challenge, but it's not anything too crazy. The bosses do have multiple phases, so once you get their health down to a certain point, they're going to start bringing out the crazy moves. For example, in the beginning you fight this big bad tree, and once his health bar gets below a certain point, he starts bringing out spikes from the ground and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. But you're always going to have the tools you need to get the win. And speaking of tools, one thing I really like in this game, they have these little arcade machines, and you're going to find one as soon as you get that boxing glove. And the arcade machines are like these little mini games, and they kind of function to get you used to the new item that you get. So the first little arcade mini game, they put you in this little area, and you have to protect these hearts by using the boxing glove and punching the enemies away. So that helps you get used to the boxing glove, and it also gives you a special form of currency that you can trade in at the actual there's like this arcade shop at the central station area, and they only take a special form of currency that you get from completing the arcade machines and doing those mini games, and you can trade those in for special items as well. So just there's a lot of stuff to find, just stuff to do. The world is full. It's fully realized. There's, like I said, it's not just the empty world. You're not just running around doing nothing. There's people to talk to. They've got side quests to do, and you're always going to be rewarded for kind of, going above and doing the extra. So I would definitely encourage you to do so if you decide to play this. I did run into a few bugs. Unfortunately, they were towards the end of what I think the playtest was, but it's a playtest. These are meant to provide feedback. Things like this are going to happen. But I did have a bug where I got locked behind a door and I couldn't get from behind the door, so I had to restart. And when I restarted and loaded back up, when I tried to go back to that same area, the area just kept glitching over and over again, and I would just fall through the floor. I'll put it up on the screen. Hopefully they saw my email. I definitely emailed them about this, so hopefully they saw that, and we'll patch that up. But like I said, it's a playtest, so things like that they're gonna happen. It is what it is. And outside of that, I think I did experience a few frame drops. Nothing like game breaking, but they were noticeable. But luckily, most of them I don't think really happened like when I was fighting. It was normally just during like transitions going to other areas. But that was the thing that also happened. But like I said, it's a playtest. It's gonna be a little buggy. It is what it is. We just hope that they patch it out, and by the time the final game gets here, that's all ironed out. But overall, man, I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun with Waltz and Jam. This is a good, solid 3D platformer. If you like games like this and you want something more lighthearted, it's colorful, has some good personality to it, something that you can just pick up and play and have fun with, I think you should check this out. And if it looks interesting to you, check out my link below. Use that link to put it on your wish list because it'll let them know that I sent you. But that's all I got for today's video. My name is Serial Sensei. Y'all stay safe, y'all stay hydrated, and I will catch you on the next one.